What if I told you there's a type of power that has nothing to do with money or your job title, but it has everything to do with the words you speak? We're about to jump into this amazing ancient story that really breaks down this exact idea. It's a tale about deception, a hidden truth, and you guessed it, the incredible influence of a single honest voice. Let's dive in. Seriously, think about that for a second. Imagine someone who has really hurt you comes to you, putting on a big show, crying, asking you to forgive them. But in your gut, you just know it's fake. It's all an act. What do you even do in that situation? Well, that's the exact problem at the very heart of the story we're exploring today. So, our story kicks off not with a big battle, but with something way more subtle. A carefully planned plot aimed at one of the most famous spiritual leaders in all of history. And right at the center of the scheme is Devadatta, who was actually the Buddha's own cousin. But there was no family love here. Nope. Devadatta was just eaten up by this toxic jealousy. He'd watched the Buddha's influence grow and see how much people adored him, and it just drove him crazy. He was desperate to bring him down. But he had a big problem. The Buddha was basically untouchable. So Devadatta cooks up this plan. He thinks, okay, if I can't get to him with force, I'll use trickery. He decides to pretend he's had this total change of heart, play the role of the sorry, repentant follower, and just wait. Wait for that one moment to strike when everyone's guard is down. And wow, he really put on a show. In front of a huge crowd of people, Devadatta literally throws himself at the Buddha's feet, his voice just filled with emotion, begging for forgiveness. I mean, to anyone who didn't know better, he looked completely sincere. But the Buddha, he saw right through it. And with this incredible calm, he just refuses the apology. He doesn't yell, he doesn't make a scene. He just says this one simple sentence that cuts right through the whole performance and lays the truth bare for everyone to see. And then, to explain how he knew Devadatta was lying, the Buddha does something totally unexpected. He tells the crowd, this isn't the first time he's tried to pull something like this. He explains that their story, it goes way, way back. And then he starts to tell them a tale from a past life. So suddenly, the Buddha transports his audience, and us, to a totally different time and place, to a story that holds the real key to understanding everything that's happening. Okay, so our story now jumps to this beautiful kingdom called Varanasi. It's ruled by a king who is so kind-hearted that he makes a pretty radical law. No one is allowed to harm any living creature, not a single one. The entire kingdom basically becomes this giant, safe sanctuary. But this new law is a huge problem for one guy, a hunter. So to keep his business going, he comes up with a pretty clever disguise. He puts on these simple robes of a holy man, hoping he can just blend in and nobody will notice what he's really up to. But deep in the woods, someone is watching. It's a tiny little bird called a jillybird. And this bird has a very special gift. It can speak just like a person. And it has this wisdom that lets it see past appearances. So when it looks at the man in the holy robes, it doesn't see a saint. It sees a hunter. And this tiny bird does something incredible. It flies up, and its voice just rings through the forest, warning all the other animals, don't trust him. Don't be fooled. This guy is a hunter in disguise. I mean, that's a huge risk for a little bird to take. And here's where the story gets really wild. All the animals in the forest, they listened to the bird. The hunter's disguise, his respectable look, it all becomes totally useless. It meant nothing against the words of this one tiny bird. And the question is, why? Why did they believe him? So after finishing the fable, the Buddha brings everyone back to the present moment, and he's ready to connect all the dots between these two stories. And then, boom, the big reveal. The Buddha tells them who everyone in the fable really was. That deceptive hunter? That was Devadatta in a past life. The kind and compassionate king, he would be reborn as the Buddha's loyal disciple, Sariputta. And the small, brave jillybird? Yep, that was the Buddha himself. Now, this reveal isn't just some clever plot twist. It's the key to understanding a really powerful idea about how we communicate. And it's the real reason that little bird's words carried so much weight. So let's get back to that big question. Why on earth would anyone trust a bird over a person? Well, the answer is the main lesson of this entire story. It teaches us that being believable has nothing to do with what we look like or our job title or if we're even human. It comes from something much, much deeper.
The secret is something we can call trustworthy speech. And it's not some kind of magic power, it's something all of us can build. It's the kind of credibility you earn from a long, long history of being honest and kind and helpful when you talk. Over time, your words just start to have more weight, more power, and people can feel the truth in them.
So, how do we actually get this quality in our own lives? Well, the teaching says we can start by avoiding 4 kinds of harmful speech. First, the obvious one, no lying. Second, you stay away from divisive speech, words that turn people against each other. Third, you avoid harsh speech, cruel, mean words meant to hurt people. And last, you cut out the idle chatter, all that pointless gossip that just wastes everyone's time. By cleaning up our communication like this, our words naturally become more powerful. And this brings us right back to our little bird. The reason the animals believed him was because over countless lifetimes, the Buddha had been building this quality of trustworthy speech. He practiced honesty and kindness so consistently that truthfulness just became a part of who he was. So even when he was just a tiny bird, his words carried the weight of all that integrity. This ancient story isn't just some old myth. It's actually a really powerful and practical lesson that every single one of us can apply in our own lives, starting today. So, what are the big takeaways here? First, deception never lasts. No matter how good the act is, the truth always finds a way out. Second, who you are speaks way louder than what you look like. Real credibility is earned, not put on like a costume. Third, our words have real, actual power. They can build people up or tear them down. And finally, the trust we build with our words is one of the most precious things we can ever have. And that leaves us with this final thought. Every single time we open our mouths to speak, we're adding another brick to the building of our own character. So the real question for all of us is, with the words we choose to use today, what are we building?